Good morning, SEC. Good morning, SEC. Good morning. All right, let us stand up this morning. See, we're having all kinds of wonderful things happen to test how joyous we can be. Yes. Yes, take a deep breath in. Look at your partner and say, it is now. It is now. Never ending on mission wholeness. Yes. All right. We ready, Maestro? Here we go. We're here to remind you of your magnificence. Yes, to help you awake to all the wonder that you are. Wonderful smile from ear to ear. We long to show you all the joy you're worthy of. You are so worthy. We're here to remind you how much you're truly loved. You are truly loved. Take another deep breath. That is the love of God coming in and the love of God going out. We're here to remind you. Oh, tell me a one now. Oh, your magnificence. Let it sink down into Australia. How you awake to all the wonder that you are. Oh, you are wonder. Oh, we long to show you all the joy you're worthy of. You are so worthy. We're here to remind you how much you're truly loved. Allow that energy to come into us and proceed all the way down to Australia, because we are all one instrument, one moment, in now. Take a deep breath. Give yourself a round of applause.
So this is a little Crosby, Stills and Nash to start off today. You guys know this? I might. Some of you do. Please feel free to. Please feel free to sing along. Okay. We were on the road, a static road that you can live by, and so become yourself, because the past is just a goodbye. Teach your children well, the mother's self is slow to go by, and leave them on your dreams, the one you pick, the one you know by. Don't you ever ask them why, if it's only you would cry, you'll still get them inside. I know they love you. of tender kiss, and know the fears that your relatives go by, and so please help that in your youth they see the truth before they can die. Teach your parents well, your children's hell will slowly go by, and feed them on your dreams, the one they pick, the one you know by. Don't you ever ask them why, if I told you you would cry, just look at them and smile. And know they love you. Don't you ever ask them why, if I told you you would cry, but just look at them and smile. I know they love you.
Thank you so much, SEC Ensemble. I can't wait for the album to come out. Good morning, SEC. I'm Audrey Scott Williams. I'm the Spiritual Director for the Center for Spiritual Living, which we call the Spiritual Enrichment Center. Thank you for being here this morning. I want to welcome each and every one of you. I also want to invite our guests to be recognized. If you're willing to stand and let us acknowledge you, I would appreciate that. Is that what Mama says?
So you want me to introduce?
Yes, please.
I'm Loretta Radke. I'm Dot Radke's daughter. I'm from Fayetteville, Arkansas. I'm a teacher. My beautiful daughter.
Hello, I'm Carla Radke. I am from Bentonville, Arkansas, and I am Dot's granddaughter.
A brand new teacher and coach. This year, and I'm so proud of her.
Good. All right. Thank you. You are good teachers.
Audrey, this is not a stranger. This is my daughter Courtney. If you remember, she's a member of the Spiritual Enrichment Center, but she's just not living here any longer. But she's
I'm
here
glad to be
visiting.
here today.
Welcome. Well, one of the reasons we ask you to stand and we're all gathered here together is so that we can remember the truth of who we are. And that's what our services are always about. That's why it's such a good time when you come here every Sunday, because we celebrate the truth of who we are. So it's so good to see everyone. I would like to also, our celebrity announcer, give me a moment here to make a couple of announcements.
Enough already.
As many of you may know, our dear beloved friend, brother, spiritual light, Paul Carroll made his transition this week. His funeral services are going to be on Saturday. His viewing will be at 9 o'clock and the service will be at 10. It's going to be at Ward Wilson Funeral Home. Immediately following the services, the burial will take place in that same vicinity. We want to let everyone know that our beautiful SEC family is providing a meal for the family immediately after the burial. Vicki has been our point person on this. We're estimating anywhere between 50 and 60 people will serve the meal, just like we do when we have our first Sunday luncheons or at the mission. I would say how we do the mission. We need vegetables and desserts.
Vegetables and we have green beans, we have zucchini and squash, and we have some vegetable things. I'm not sure what that is, but Jackie knows. But corn, we have corn.
Okay,
So any other kind of vegetable, if you're gonna do it, if you could just let me know, because we wanna make sure we have plenty of food.
okay,
So that if we don't, we can always pick up that later.
okay.
And we need
Some desserts.
Yeah.
So if you can volunteer, would like to volunteer for that, please see Vicki immediately following the service. Also, we'll need volunteers just to help us set up and clean up. Primarily that morning, people will be dropping off dishes, and we need someone here to make sure they are received, and then to help us get the food out, and then to clean up after the service. So for all of that, see
Audrey,
Vicki.
Bill and I are going to stay for that. Simply
Oh, are you?
the
Okay.
dish I'm making, we
Mhm.
don't want cold, and we can bring that and get that into the oven.
Okay,
So I'm going to do a big restaurant style of Betsy.
so what we'll need servers and clean up.
Clean up.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay,
If
so,
anybody else wants to come and be at the church with us, that's good.
yes, Charles.
We need to set the sanctuary up like we do for potluck.
I would think that would be a good idea,
What's that?
when we talk about
Setting
setting up a sanctuary for like potluck, like we do potluck.
Yeah, if we'll do the same thing, we can have them to come in the door where the ramp is at,
Uh-huh,
right down the hallway and be served. We're gonna need to do that because we're gonna need the room,
okay.
okay? And then we'll go back out to the side. We need to. did
I would
we
think
say on
Friday afternoon
All
would
agree
be-
we're
Yeah.
gonna try to do that?
If you're available Friday afternoon, let's say about 2:00,
That's good for me.
is that good for everyone? Okay, so Friday at 2:00, if you can help us set up, please meet us here, and we'll take care of that. Okay, thank you so much, Vicki. Vicki's been working very hard. I'd just like to also ask you to hold Paul's sons particularly in your prayers. It's been a very traumatic moment in time for them, but they're doing an incredible job. All right,
They also need to know that anything they bring, please bring it in a dish that you do not want to take home,
right.
because afterwards we will send whatever to the family. If you don't have that, you'll just let me know. I've got lots of aluminum pans. I will gladly bring you a pan to transfer it into.
Okay. I have another announcement from Jackie. Thank you so much, Jackie, for letting us know that the Oprah and Deepak 21-day meditation experience begins, I think that's tomorrow. Is that correct? And you can find out more about that online. Jackie will be sending me the link, and I'll put it in the e-blast. It's called The Energy of Attraction, Manifesting Your Best Life. And with that, Marvin.
Woo, Marvin!
Well, when she calls me a celebrity announcer, I don't know if she's making fun of me.
Never that.
Let's just keep it a mystery, okay? Okay, want to thank everyone who made this serve or is making this service possible. Rick is back there staffing the soundboard. Jesse's on the PowerPoint.
Whoa, have a film.
And our SEC ensemble, a tremendous musician. Composed of Damien, Jim, Janine, Jackie, and Dee. Okay, do you need to change your name, start with a J?
No, it's 3 J's and a D.
Or
we can call
Okay.
it DJ.
And Cecilia is standing by in case any kids show up, so. We got a good service planned, and Charles did the meditation this morning.
Whoa!
And a good time was had by all. Those of you who participated in the Dothan Rescue Mission, if you would stand and be recognized, please note it. We are getting a little bit skimpy on the number of volunteers showing up for this. And we run the risk of turning it over to the Methodists. And we don't want to do that. So next month, please consider cooking a dish and bringing it. That's on the third Thursday of the month. We show up at 5 with our dish. Serve at 5:30. We had a big crowd last week, and so Most all the food was gone, and then we're gone by 6, so it really only takes about an hour there. So it's not difficult at all. We're always looking for volunteers for various endeavors here at the center, and especially on Sunday morning. And we appreciate the efforts of those members when somebody can't make it. I've on the receiving end of some emails where there was a mad scramble trying to fill in vacant spots, and we appreciate people filling that void. And if you have any inclination toward helping in that endeavor, if you have any electronic background, you worked on roadie for the Beatles or anything like that, you can please see one of the members, and they would be glad to welcome you in their fold. Wednesday, July 25th, that's this coming Wednesday, there will be a monthly interfaith luncheon at the Evergreen Presbyterian Church. That's on North Pontiac Avenue. Bring your lunch and meet new friends from a diverse path. So you will, I think you will enjoy that. On Wednesday, August the 15th, at 6 p.m. to 8 p.m., Tony Burrows will be returning to SEC to offer a workshop, The Highest Good Workshop, it's called, celebrating the release of his new book, The Highest Good Handbook, Love, Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Happiness. There will be a $15 tuition, and we appreciate that. Here it is. There will be a meeting of volunteers, and if you're considering being a volunteer, you can come to this meeting also. That will be next Sunday, July 29th, after the service. So we would appreciate you showing up for that. We occasionally like to give the appearance that we're organized, and so if you could show up, we can kind of get our acts together. Course of Miracles on Sunday morning at 9:45 in the children's room back there. Sunday meditation before the service, as Charles led this morning, that will be at 10:30 back in the chapel. And as you know, Wednesday night classes are suspended for the summer. In the heat of the summer, our little French fries decided today, because it's so hot, they wanted to go to Blue Springs. And I said, you want to find out what cold is all about? And go to Blue Springs. So we're going to go up there next week. Let's see, we're also collecting used cell phones, ink cartridges, toiletries, and foodstuffs for our pantry. So if you would like to bring some of those in, we would certainly appreciate it. Did I miss anything important?
Got it.
Okay.
Yay, brother!
And Margaret, celebrity status is never a joke.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you.
We'll now do our affirmations. They're in your program and on the screen, so let us say them together. The
Christ's level of consciousness is the only presence of power in the spiritual enrichment center and in my life. All else gently and easily falls away. I am life. Life is strong. Life knows how to heal itself. I know how to heal myself. Healing is the revealing of the wholeness already within. I stand aside and let this one perfect life flow through me. I am a healing presence in the world. I am a perfect expression of the divine. I am the high flying and vibrational frequency of love and light. Today I broadcast this message to all of God's creation. And so it is. Amen.
Our inspirational readings today will be read by Steve, reading from the Daily Word, and Garrett reading from the Science of Mind.
Today's word is time enough. I have time enough for rest, work, pleasure, and prayer. At the end of a busy day, do I focus on appreciating what I achieved? Or do I berate myself for those tasks I have yet to accomplish? The attitude in which I started my day had a great deal to do with the ensuing results. I create each day's experience through the choices, large and small, that I make as the day unfolds. My storehouse of divine energy keeps me mentally focused. With a positive attitude, I affirm I have time enough, wisdom enough, strength enough, and energy enough to do whatever is before me this day. As confidence in my creative power grows, I become clearer and calmer in each choice, and my day perfectly expresses my new consciousness. And the scripture reading is Mark 1:15. The time is fulfilled and the kingdom of God has come near.
A history lesson. Isn't it ironic then that we keep all of our attention on the 0.00001% of reality that is physical? Are we missing something? The universe withholds no good from us, but what belongs to us we must take. That's from the Can We Talk to God. Phil Graham, the former Washington Post publisher, famously said, "Journalism is the first rough draft of history. Journalists record what they believe to be true based on information gleaned from a variety of sources, some more closely connected to the situation than others. But in every case, it takes some time before all the details fall into place and the full truth reveals itself, and the event can be put into perspective. In many ways, much like these journalists, every time we make a choice about our future, we are writing the first draft of history, our own personal story. What we write is based on our beliefs, backed up by what we or others have observed to be true. It makes perfect sense, but in much the same way that there is a difference between knowing and knowing with a capital K, there is a difference between truth and truth with a capital T. One is based on what our five senses tell us. The other factors in that which is beyond the physical realm, the domain of spirit. It has been said that the truth shall set us free, and spiritual truth frees us to evolve and grow in ways that we never knew were possible. The first draft of our history can be as rough or as refined as we want it to be, depending on which truth we choose to embrace. We can draft our history from a consciousness of limitation, or we can write our story from a place of expansion and infinite possibility. Growth will happen either way, but the amount of joy in the journey will vary immensely. And the affirmation, my inner knowing guides my every step, and truth lights the way.
And now we'll sing Surely the Presence, which is printed on the screen or in your bulletin.
Surely the presence of God is in this place. I can feel the mighty power and the grace. I can hear the rush of angel wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of God is in this place.
And surely God is in this place. We feel it when we get out of our cars or trucks or motorcycles out there in the driveway and see everyone. We are all one of the one. And we honor all all people that gather together to honor God, the God of love, whether it be in a small place out in the woods or nature, a big cathedral, synagogue, mosque, any place that people gather to honor God, the God of love. We bless all of you that are here. And we bless Debbie, that's going to give us some message today. We bless the whole world. Anyway, and now feeling this connection with all of us, let us go within and sit in the silence for a few moments and reflect. I give thanks for this time of being together, this time of celebrating God in our lives, this time of spiritual renewal. God is so good, and we are grateful. And now, on the board, we have our opening prayer. It's also in the bulletin, which we will say together.
There is only one presence and one power in the universe and in my life, God the good, omnipotent.
Now we'll sing.
Myself the way I am, there's nothing I need to change. I'll always be the perfect me. There's nothing to rearrange. I'm beautiful and capable of being the best me I can. And I love myself just the way I am. I love you the way you are. There's nothing you need to do. When I feel the love inside myself, it's easy to love you. Behind your fears, your rage and tears, I see your shining star. And I love you just the way you are. I love the world the way it is, 'cause I can clearly see that all the things I judge are done by people just like me. So till the birth of peace on earth that only love can bring, I'll help it grow by loving everything. I love myself the way I am, and still I want to grow. But change outside can only come when deep inside I know I'm beautiful and capable of being the best me I can. And I love myself just the way I am. Yes, I love myself just the way I am.
Congregational hymn. Please stand up with us. We're going to have Jamie show us a little interpretive gestures. We're going to start grooving this, the gifts of the goddess. So, can everyone see Jamie? Okay. These are the gifts of the goddess: love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess I am ready to receive. Let's try that one more time. Gifts of the goddess: heart, love, joy, and peace.
Peace.
Gifts of the goddess I am
Ready to open and receptive. Ready to receive.
Get groovy with this now. You want some dancing? These are the gifts of the goddess: love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess I am ready to receive. Gifts of the goddess: love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess I am ready to receive. Love, are you ready? Joy, are you ready? Peace, are you ready? Are you ready to receive? These are the gifts of the goddess: love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess I am ready to receive. Gifts of the goddess: love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess I am ready to receive. Passion, are you ready? Forgiveness, are you ready? Laughter, are you ready? I am ready to receive. These are the gifts of the goddess: love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess, are you ready to receive? Gifts of the goddess: love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess, are you ready to receive? Passion, are you ready? Are you ready? Success, are we ready? I am ready. Abundance, are you ready? I am ready. I am ready to receive. All right. These are the gifts of the goddess: love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess I am ready to receive. Gifts of the goddess: love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess, are you ready to receive? One more time. Gifts of the goddess: love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess, are you ready to receive? Gifts of the goddess: love, joy, and peace. Gifts of the goddess, are you ready to receive? Dance it out. I am ready, ready, ready. Are you ready to receive? Gifts, joy, and love. Ready to receive. Ready to receive.
I bet y'all didn't know you were coming here to exercise. I have one announcement that was forgotten. August 4th at 9 o'clock in the morning, we're having a work day here we need all the windows cleaned inside and out. So if anyone can join us, we appreciate it. Our talk today is titled, Let's Not Fool Ourselves, and it'll be given by Debbie Henderson. Please help me welcome her.
Wow. Thank you. Oh, it's always good to be here. It's always good to get to share with you and hello Facebook, hello world, hello. We are so glad to be among us all together. How about that? That song, I gotta say, that song reminds me of a talk I gave once about gifts, and I made up an acronym. And I want us to think about this going forward in this wonderful community. Gifts is good or goods, I find to share. Goods, I find to share. So let's think about giving our gifts going forward, because I know there's still a lot more gifts out here with all of us. And, so anyway, so in keeping with Halloween around the corner, let us not fool ourselves. Oh, boy. Oh, so Des and I have been talking a lot about, I call her Des, you call her Desi, but we've been talking a lot about the word fool and foolishness and all kinds of thoughts around that. And, in tarot, the word, the Fool card is the 0. Well, some of us think that 0 is nothing. But if you look at numerology or tarot, or the 0 is the circle of completeness. It is infinity. It is the infinite. It is allness. And so sometimes when we perceive that someone is doing something foolishly, sometimes they might very well be guided by that infinite and doing something that no one understands. Or sometimes we don't understand the infinite. We don't understand what spirit is doing, and we're thinking, what the heck is going on? And then something wonderful comes out of that beyond the appearances. And then, of course, there's the foolishness or the fooling of fooling around and having silliness, having fun. And who made up sense of humor? Who created that? The wonderful Creator gave us sense of humor. Yay! We look forward to that on Sunday morning with us being here together. And Marvin, we love your sense of humor. Yes, indeed, we love it. It's great. Sense of humor is part of what keeps us moving forward. So fooling, a little bit of trickery, okay, that's great. But what about the wisdom about not fooling ourselves? I think most of us know that today our world is a little bit crazy out there, right? Our world has a little bit of craziness going on in it, and some of us are sort of shaking our heads and going, oh my heavens, what's going on? What's next? What's the world coming to? And it is wise to be even more attuned so that we can discern. It is wise to have good, positive, tuned up discernment so that we are making good, healthy choices in this world that sometimes has some craziness going on in the outer. And sometimes we have craziness going on inside as well. I don't think I'm the only one. I think so. That we have our share of that craziness sometimes. And so we need to be better at discerning when to turn the noise down and when to turn the volume up, and how and who, to whom we choose to listen. So let us not fool ourselves actually has a lot of spiritual wisdom. Someone talking about the noise in our heads, someone I knew once was going to give a talk, and she was going to call it, "Excuse me, but I hope the noise inside my head is not bothering you." And there is a lot that we hear, a lot of noise inside our heads. I'll tell you what, I use Bach flower remedies, and one of the remedies that's great for calming that inner noise is white chestnut. It's a good one for calming those mental arguments. But sometimes we have to just say, shh. Or sometimes we say, okay, God, okay, Spirit, I'm having a hard time turning down the volume on this noise. Please, you take over. Or our higher selves, our guides, our angels. Okay, I'm casting this burden. Jesus said to cast the burden. You take over. You take over. That's the theme that keeps coming through all of my thoughts about this talk this morning. Isn't that a lot of why we show up here each week, so that we continue to relinquish the inner noise, to relinquish the ego, to let go of all of the stuff that goes on, the noise that goes on, and give our attention and the power, give up control, so that that higher self, that God self, spirit, can do its perfect work through us. So I've thought a lot about what does it mean if we are fooling ourselves, and what does it mean when other people are seeming to fool themselves. And so a couple thoughts I have. One, I don't think that we are fooled by others as much as they might think. How many times have you looked at and heard what somebody is saying and you go, I hear what they're saying, but somehow I think there's something else going on. You have a hunch. And how many times did you or someone you know get out of a bad relationship or a bad situation, and you think back, or you encourage them to think back and say, when did you know, or did you have a hunch? And you or they go, oh yeah, you know, when such and such happened, when they said this or that, my gut didn't quite ring right with that. That didn't feel right, that didn't hit me right, that didn't sound right. And so really one of the things I've become to think more about is that we are far more transparent than we're used to thinking. And other actions of others, we're hearing more things are coming out where things that seemed secretive are not so secretive. So we're beginning to find that, I think. And also, I think that when we're not feeling well, when we're not at our best, that is not so hidden either. I remember, my heavens, but for years, my thyroid was off. It was probably off most of my life until I actually ended up having it removed. And I feel more sane now, more balanced now than I ever did. I mean, it's like another incarnation in this life. How many incarnations have you had in this life? But I think that on one hand, while we're not being fooled, and we're not fooling others, and we're not really fooling ourselves as much, the other side of that is I don't think we have to worry, because we are so loved and so held and so brought forward, so divinely protected, that anytime we're used to thinking, oh, I better put on my best show, I better not let it show that maybe my house isn't quite as neat today, or my inner landscape isn't as quite in order. I better do my best and not let all that show. Guess what? We are spiritual beings having a human experience. We are also spiritual beings living in a spiritual universe governed by spiritual law. Yes, and we love to know that and say that. But it is sometimes more challenging to remember that we are spiritual beings. And one way I heard this put is that we are even learning to have a human experience. It is not always easy by a long shot to have this human experience. So when I first came into metaphysics and heard about denial, oh my gosh, I think it was in the 60s and 70s there. Oh my goodness. Anyway, we were taught that denial was about denying appearances. And there are still some in metaphysics who would say, oh yes, I even read in the notes that Ernest Holmes said, if I go into a hospital room and see somebody sick, turn around and leave, and then maybe come back in, probably with a different consciousness, come back in. But what I think a lot of people suffer from thinking they have to deny what their experience is in the world, in the physical. And I think this actually causes a lot of trouble. Now, what if I tell you, okay, I'm going to deny all the stuff about me that's in the world. And so therefore, my eyes are perfect, and I challenge you to just throw me your car keys, because I want to go out there and drive. Is anybody willing? Oh gosh, you guys.
I'll go.
You may go too. You know, it means that we have to deal with what's going on in the physical. Sometimes we have to take our medications. Sometimes we have to give up doing all of the things that we want to be able to do. Like, I mean, I want to be first in line for one of those self-driving cars. Believe me, I really want that. Dee says, yeah. All right, you know, but it also means not being totally foolish and being safe and listening and learning and sometimes getting better at discerning who are we going to listen to get our advice. If I want to know what's going on with something, maybe going on with some aspect of me or some aspect of the physical, I may not ask someone who's only going to think that whatever is there stops at the end of the sentence, that stops at the end of what they see. I like to use and also instead of but. Well, I see this and there's always something greater that's possible. What can we do to turn this lemon into lemonade? What can we do to make something good out of this? So, okay, maybe I'm not going to see today physically, but maybe I've done a lot to turn up the vision within that we all have in common that we can all use. So making something good out of our circumstances, but to deny the reality of something that exists. Now remember, denial, it's not the river in Egypt. Denial is not the river in Egypt. But we can deny its power. We can know first what the facts are in the physical. What are we dealing with in the physical? Do what we can to take positive action so that we're not just turning our back on it. Do what we can to take positive action about it. And then we can trust. And I mean double trust. Don't dig it up to see if it's growing, but trust and let go. Trust that, and I have come to think that it's more about trust than faith. For me, it's not about faith as much as it is about trust. Maybe for some that's semantics, but I think of trust and even a sense of knowingness. Now, when you listen within, I have a lot of people that ask, how do you know if it's really what's within, and how do you know when it's just like wishful thinking or mind chatter? Well, and everybody has to find their own. For me, when I feel guided, there's no adrenaline. Number one, there's no adrenaline. Number two, there might be a brand new thought or brand new idea, and it's sitting separately from all other stuff that's going on in my brain. It's a sudden something that's kind of by itself, not surrounded. It's got space around it, and I'm peaceful. I'm peaceful. That's how I know. But everyone, we need to all know our own. But deny it power. So, you know, some people that will talk about what's going on with them, they'll give you the organ recital. And they'll give the sense of what Carolyn Mace has called woundology. In the first 5 minutes, you know that they were sexually abused and how their home life was growing up and all that kind of stuff. No. We need to if we're going to trust in our partner, our higher self, in our creator, in our guides and angels, I actually feel like I'm part of a team. And I am part of a team. There's the team of all of us together, all of you, all of us together, and all of us in the world. And then I also feel that there's a team of, I don't know, other beings, other others on all levels, and that we need each other. You need me to be positive. I need you to be positive. If we say, oh, yeah, I'm giving it to God, and then I'm going to go on with the organ recital and all that other negativity on the other hand, then it's not a clear message. And God is going to respond to, Spirit's going to respond to what it hears most often. So let us not fool ourselves by denying the situation, by not doing something about what we need to do, our part in the physical. Let us not fool ourselves by not giving it to Spirit. And let us not fool ourselves in thinking that anything we've done or what seems to be imperfect is the bottom line to who we are. Because, there's like you go into a restaurant and there's soup du jour, right? It's what's out there for the day. You go into what's on sale, or you go into spiritual economics and they talk about, oh, the economy is down or the economy is up. It's like, what's in vogue? Okay, my mother always said, well, I don't care about what's in style. I don't care about what everybody's doing. This is what you're doing. And I think that that's what we sometimes need to do with ourselves. And we need to trust and know that anything we've done or not done, or any of remember I talked about the mistakes that the photographers also make. They do lots of mistakes before they get their great photos. So any of those that we make, that's not the bottom line to who we are. Spirit has got us. Spirit has definitely got us. So let's not fool ourselves by forgetting who we are a part of, what we have, and what is our job to do, both by being in the world, having a physical experience, by having a human experience. Let's not fool ourselves in forgetting what is our part and deny what we need to do. And at the same time, let's not fool ourselves by forgetting that God has got us, Spirit has got us, and wow, how wonderful it is. So let us first have our affirmation, and then we'll have a little meditation. Our affirmation, I think you can see it up on the wall. I am a perfect expression of the divine. Oh yes, how simple and pure and plain is that? So let us be centered for a moment. And Spirit, we know that you are always with us, and you are in charge as much as we trust and allow you to be. We give up our tendency in any way to go to the ego and go to you, the Spirit, allowing you to move in us and through us and as us, allowing you to help to keep us safe, help to keep us protected, help to keep us healed and whole and healthy. We give thanks for the wisdom that we have to know what is our part and what is your part. And we give many, many thanks for all this and our many blessings always pouring forth, and so it is. Amen.
So it is.
Want me to leave my notes up here?
I can read that.
Sorry about that.
So it's now time for are we going to have a song now?
Yes.
All right.
Do you want to have prayer?
Yes. Before we have our music, we'll play.
I thought I did.
Yeah.
Okay.
Janine is asking me for
I forgot there.
Maybe today we need to be double covered. All right. Let's all just take a moment. And in this prayer, let us extend our gratefulness, our thankfulness for the message that was delivered today. Let us give thanks that sometimes we're the fool, but the fool may not be who we think it is as we step off into the world that is in our presence right here, right now. We step off with the knowing that we are not only our physical selves, but our higher selves. And in that, as we look at all the distractions around us, physically, audibly, in our mind, that we know there's something bigger than that. And that when we learn to still all those noises and center down, we know and remember the truth of who we are, and that is our guide forward in this life. We give thanks, and so it is.
Now you win.
Now you
That was a perfect lead.
So, this is a guitar version of a song by The Fray called Be Still. And I'd like to dedicate it to Paul's family and also to anyone else that will hear it and feel a connection with it. Be still and know that I'm with you. Be still and know that I am here. Be still and know that I'm with you. Be still and know. When darkness comes upon you and covers you with fear and shame, be still and know that I'm with you, and I will say your name. If terror falls upon your bed and sleep no longer comes, remember all the words I said. Be still and know. And when you go through the valley and the shadow comes down from the hill, if morning never comes to be, be still, be still, be still. If you forget the way to go and lose where you came from, if no one is standing beside you, be still and know I am. Be still and know that I'm with you. Be still and know I am.
Thank you, guys. Now is the time in our service where we have the opportunity to circulate our good through the spiritual practice of giving. Please hold your gift and say with me, blessings of love, offerings, and tithes printed on the screen. Freely I give with an attitude of abundance, for I know that as I give joyfully, I receive abundantly. For the law of circulation is active in my life now, and so it is. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all I have. I am so blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all that I am. I am so blessed. So blessed. I am so blessed. I am so grateful for all I do. Every day I am so blessed. And every day we are so blessed. We are so blessed for all these tithes and offerings given to us here at the Spiritual Enrichment Center. Know that each and every dollar goes toward the best, for the programs, for the services, for the musical accompaniment, all the things that we need here at the SEC. Thank you, God, for these tithes, knowing that we are prosperous, rich, and wealthy. And so it is. And so it is.
Let's stand and sing our peace song.
Yes.
We'll be on the screen in a moment.
Yes.
And in our hearts always.
All right. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me. Let's start. Yes, there is peace on earth, the peace that was meant to be. With God as Creator, family all are we. Yes, we walk with each other in perfect harmony. Yes, peace begins with me, and this is my moment now. Right now. With every breath I take, yes, this is my joyous vow. To take each moment and live each moment in peace eternally. Yes, there is peace on earth, and yes, it begins with me. The light of God surrounds us, the love of God enfolds us, the power of God protects us, the presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is, and all is well.
And repeat after me. Something wonderful is happening in my life right now.
Something wonderful is happening in my life right now.
I believe it.
I believe it.
I feel it.
I feel it.
I know it.
I know it.
And I allow it.
And I allow it.
And so it is.
And what we do by it.
No, it's Marvin. Every once in a while. I'm sorry. I was quiet. We're sitting in the back. You're always the front.